Ryan, it's awesome to be here with you today.
Thank you, Jenna.
Tell us when you came to the vineyard.
I came to the vineyard since it started in 2000. I had just moved here. So,
How did you find us? What did you?
I was going to Florida Hospital College of Health Sciences, is now known as the ADU. And then we had a Vespers night, and Richard Guerrero was the speaker.
And so, what did he tell you to come check it out, or?
I had just moved from California, and he talked about how he's from California, how he was an ex-gangster, and honestly, I just felt he was very sincere in his message, and I didn't really have a church at the time, and I wanted to check it out. At the time, I wasn't good at anything, or I'm still not even great at anything now, but I played the guitar, and Albert asked me to play, and since then, I just been playing in the praise team.
So, tell us any special memories or anything really cool that's happened to you while you've been here at the vineyard.
Special memories are the first day, like the week after, I guess the vineyard was going to open, but they went to the college, and I told Richard, I was like, I really want to help out somehow. Just throw me in or do something. And I guess he was busy or whatever, cleaning. It was at OJA, and he handed me a plunge, a plunger. He's like, okay, go work on these toilets. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he brought me to the girls and the boys' toilets, and we just every week after that we were cleaning the toilets for the to prepare for the Sabbath.
So I had been coming to the vineyard off and on for a few years, and there was one Sabbath that I came because Robert invited, you know, a few people to do praise team, and I volunteered to help out. And that same Sabbath, I had come back from a mission trip in Ukraine a few weeks ago, and that Sabbath I was presenting, a PowerPoint slide, some pictures and everything, and I was more preoccupied with that than anything, and getting everything set up. So I sat down in the first row and just so happened to sit down next to Ryan, and yeah, that's how we met. That was our first interaction, and he thinks I did it on purpose, but I didn't.
Jose, good to have you here. Tell us when you came to the vineyard and who introduced you.
It was in 2008. Andrew brought me to the vineyard, Pastor Andrew Moreno. And that's when my first encounter with the vineyard was.
And what would you say that your time here has done for you spiritually?
Spiritually, is helped me grow. Before I got here, I was lost, confused. But the vineyard has guided me to answer the questions that I had.
What kind of questions, if you don't mind me asking?
Life questions in general.
Okay.
What it was going to take to become a man. What was my purpose? Why was I even supposed to be here or even part of this world?
So how did you get involved? Because now you do so much, and anyone that sees you would think, wow, this guy has it all together. But you have a story behind that has led you to the point you're at right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Just watching the vineyard and being here, they've cared and loved. So that love that they gave to me, I have no choice but to reflect that, because it's helped me grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope, and my hope is that the way they helped me grow, I can do the same for others, and they can see that.
So basically a philosophy of paying it forward.
Yes.
And what would you say are some of the things that you've actually, tangible things that the vineyard has done for you to help others?
Tangible.
Something in your mission trips.
Oh, they've provided me to go on mission trips, and in these mission trips, I've learned many things: teamwork, the importance of prayer, the importance of communication. Things that I lacked growing up, and the vineyard, by them providing me to go on these trips, they've given me those tools that I don't see where else I would have gotten them.
That's awesome. And I know there's a lot of young people that will be watching, and I just wonder what would your message be to them on this anniversary of 15 years of the Vineyard? What would you tell other young people that are looking for a home, a church family to belong to?
I would tell them not to give up. God is somewhere along the lines, wherever they are in life, growing. And one of the things that stuck out about the Vineyard, and I would tell someone young, is find somewhere where it feels like home. Everyone might not be the same, or they might make a lot of mistakes, but where you feel the most that it's like home, you know that you're going to be able to grow with these people, and you're going to be able to learn a lot of things. So if there was one thing I would say to someone, is go somewhere where they feel like they're at home.
I started coming around when I was 22 years old, and it was just a different place to go to. I never really found a church growing up where I felt like I was part of, and then I started coming to the Vineyard, and I started feeling like I was welcomed. I met friends and started enjoying it.
I think God in His providence had the Vineyard waiting for me because I had left the church. And even though I was at Andrews, I was there physically, but not spiritually. And it's as if God had Richard Carr and his family. He had Richard Guerrero, Dr. Jason, Marcus, and Miriam, and a bunch of other people that I'm still good friends with to this day, that they were the spiritual stalwart that I grew from and still grow with today. So God knew what He was doing, and it's been instrumental in my spiritual development and my spiritual growth. Well, after a few weeks or so, I think we had mutual friends, and we were introduced to each other, and we've known each other since 2001, 2002, and we've been married for a while now, have 2 kids, and so like I said before, not only was it a spiritual connection that we got from the Vineyard, obviously we met each other, and both of us are spiritually connected through the Vineyard, and now we are, connected through marriage.
Andrew, we're so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you.
And I'm really just wondering what led you to the Vineyard, and what was your life like at the time, and when did you start coming, and what kept you coming?
Sure. For me, the Vineyard, how I was connected with the Vineyard is through Richard. Richard had asked me to help out in speaking with the Vineyard. And even though I've heard, being in Florida, not so much in Central Florida, but in other parts in the state of Florida, hearing a lot of good things about the Vineyard, it really impacting and changing young people's lives and their mission, their scope of everything. So my connection was mainly that, Richard calling me and say, hey, can you come and speak? And so that's how it started. And then there was like 2 or 3 different times I came and spoke. At that time, I was a youth director for the conference, and I loved it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Just the friendliness, the leadership, just the mission of wanting to connect with young people, reconnect them, and just show them a safe place of worship, of family, etc. And then I left the state and then came back, and I happened to be back at that time in Central Florida. And then the very, very first place I went to church was the Vineyard, and I actually made the Vineyard my home church for the first 3 years that I was here in Central Florida. So anyhow, I from that point on, it kind of evolved. Rich asked me to help out and be part of the leadership team of the Vineyard at that time. So, and the neat thing is, right along with that, Tiffany and I, we were getting to know each other, and then we got engaged. So, the Vineyard was part of all of that with us, along with that in regards to the Vineyard. So yeah, that's how I came along with the Vineyard. So it's been an incredible experience for us.
So it was about 2 years ago, and we got introduced by Richard Carr. He's a very dear friend to our family, and he brought us in, and after we came in the first time, we just fell in love with the environment and everyone praising, so we decided to make this our home.
It felt like a family. So church is a family, a big family. So because of that connection and that intimacy between everybody, you could really feel it. And then to see how God was lifted up and the message that was being preached, it caught us the first time.
So May, tell me, what keeps you coming back?
Well, definitely the children's program. I can go ahead and enjoy the sermon while I know that my daughter is receiving the Bible lessons or she's being involved too at church. So that's definitely something that I enjoy about coming here to the Vineyard.
Well, I came to Florida back in 2001 to do my training. And to be honest with you, I was kind of burnt out with church. Back home, I did a lot of the same things, like led out in praise, was an elder, and did a ton of stuff. And I was just really burnt out, and I wanted to focus on my career. But at the same time, I still had this longing to find a church home. And like many people who come to Vineyard, I church hopped until finally someone by the name of Ryan Makalua, who we were playing basketball one time, and said, "Hey, you should come to the Vineyard." And so I tried it out, and as they say, the rest is history.
That's awesome.
I would say this one brought me. My father's actually a pastor, and so obviously I was going to his church, and I started dating Jason, and we kind of would go to both churches for a while, and then Jason just started bringing me to the Vineyard more often, and we both really liked it. We liked the atmosphere and the people and the relationships that we started making, so we just kept coming back.
Well, one thing that I can say I know I really learned a lot from the Vineyard, as I mentioned earlier, at my other church I was just burnt out with doing the church thing. And then it kind of hit me as we were attending Vineyard. I know that my wife could sing, and then I had some other talents that I wasn't sharing. And the parable of that, the man with the one talent who hid it in the ground, it just kind of hit me because he didn't use it or invest it, God ended up taking it away. And so Vineyard was like that vehicle where I could grow and expand and share and minister and testify and be ministered to. So Vineyard has been very instrumental for me individually, and as my wife said, has been instrumental for us as a couple because we've made lifelong friends here. Pastor Richard married us. Our daughter was dedicated here. So it really is our family away from family. A big lesson that I've learned tremendously from the Vineyard is never count out the small guy. We may not be the richest church. We may not have the fanciest technology. Sometimes we're just downright ghetto. But that also makes us down to earth. And that's what makes us real. And what's so cool about God is that he could take our smallness, but with his infiniteness, it becomes great. So I guess if anything, if you got something, if God has put something in your heart, allow him to continue to mature it, to foster it, to grow it, because he's the one who can make something out of nothing.
Well, number one, thank you. We're very happy to be at the Vineyard. Who brought us here? I went to Apopka Spanish Church, which was at the time Eternity with Pastor Hector Caban. And, we moved location a few times and stuff like that. And one day I kind of stopped going to church and kind of rebelled like some people do. And, you always get that itching once you get to know God and meet him and really recognize who he is. And one day Lisa ran into someone, she could probably tell you that part, but she ran into a friend from Apopka Spanish, and they said, yeah, go there on, to the Vineyard. And we went, and it was an old location that Eternity had, and we've been here ever since. It's been fun.
We're always with the kids, or we'll do like a bowling or movie night, and it's always good just to interact with everybody and keep, in touch and not just inside of church, but outside, and it's good to fellowship with everybody.
And as a young person, what have you done, and what has the Vineyard done for you spiritually?
well, I'll help out my mom with Sabbath school for the kids. And it's good. And every Sabbath I come, I'm always meeting new people and building new relationships. So that's good.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, God always has a plan. Even if it's not our understanding, He always knows where we're supposed to be and when. Back in 2008, Joey and I, he just had his 3 older children, and we used to go to Eternity with Hector Caban, and we used to come and visit Pastor Richard at the Vineyard in the Barker Center in 2008. And we quit going to church for a while, like he had said. And in 2011, we were looking to get back in church. And we had got back in touch with a friend who said we should visit the Vineyard. And we just thought, that sounds so familiar. Got there, recognized Pastor Richard and a lot of people. And of course it was familiar. We had visited there years before. So at the time, it might not have been where we needed to be, but God always brought us back to where we're supposed to be. And now we are not leaving.
That's awesome. And so then you had 3 older children,
and now God has blessed us with 3 more babies.
Well, congratulations. I know they were all born at the Vineyard, dedicated at the Vineyard, and we're just happy to have this.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here with Max and Jamil Luna, and they started the Vineyard along with me back in 1999, even though we started actually in 2000. However, Jamil, Max, do you guys remember those days and when we just used to meet and talk and dream? What was that like? What do you think we were getting into?
I remember us getting together at the Panera Bread in Altamont Springs. A lot of things happened there. And we had the opportunity to really think about what would a ministry look like that could bring young people to God in a non-conventional, non-traditional way. And that long ago, quite honestly, I never thought it would last this long. So God has truly blessed in miraculous ways.
That's cool. I know that we had done ministry together at another church, all 3 of us. And so taking off on our own, so to speak, was a big step. We didn't have a lot of support, but we had some good encouragement. Max, I just want to ask you this question because I know that you've always been on the outskirts doing stuff, and even though you might not have felt, I've always felt that you were a very important part of Vineyard. Can you just say what that has meant to you over the years?
I think I have a mic. Well, the Vineyard, what it means to me was, or is, especially when it started back in the day, there was a void in the community for young people. And having 3 other brothers and sisters that had left the Adventist church, there was really nothing going on for young adults in the community. And the Vineyard was meeting those needs, not just for my brothers and sisters, but for, I think, other young people that had left the Adventist church. And sometimes, like Hispanics, when you speak English in a Spanish church, you don't feel comfortable. And so that was another need that I think it met. For Hispanic young Americans that wanted to go to church and feel comfortable speaking English. And that's what it meant to me.
So essentially gave people that were kind of disenfranchised or folks that were not visiting church to have a place to come to. And you know, our slogan was, "Come as you are."
Correct.
It's been used by thousands of different folks, but I kind of think like, you know, we were like, not the first, but one of the first, but we genuinely meant that. For people to come. What do you think a slogan like that did for folks, Jamil?
I think it really gave them the opportunity to not only come as you are physically, so the dress, it was a big thing of how you come dressed to church and what's proper and what's not in the pulpit, and how do you serve God on a Sabbath and what you need to look like. But I think also spiritually, that you could come as you are, no matter what kind of a mess of a life you were living, but that God accepted us all right where we were. We didn't have to convert and then come to church. We could come as we were with all the burdens and all of the sins that we felt we carried, and we could be accepted and really fulfilled spiritually.
So do you think, based on those precepts, that really was a helpmeet to people? I mean, you know, I'm talking 15 years later, we've seen a big change. We've seen people come through in and out. But in the long run, do you think that that actually made more of a positive impact on folks as opposed to if they never would have had a vineyard to come to?
I mean, personally, again, going back to my family itself, being able to come to church as you are, whether you had jewelry or I hate to bring jewelry up because it's just a sensitive thing sometimes for some Adventist churches, but to be able to come to church a little bit later, the Vineyard had that later service, which was more comfortable for young adults to sleep in a little bit and to not have to worry about having to wear a suit to church. I think it was really important for not only my family, but other young people to be able to feel comfortable to come in and just feel right at home.
Now, one of the things I've always been told that the Vineyard was a contemporary church. Do you guys feel it was contemporary, or is just what made it different?
I think that it was a little flavor of everything. Yeah. And I think it met the need of the people coming in just because of the environment. It was loving. It was accepting. It was a place you could come and get involved if you wanted to. So I think it really met the needs of people where they were at. So while some felt they needed contemporary and some felt they needed traditional, it just met the need because of the love and acceptance. And so it really was what it was to whoever it wanted to be because of the fact that people were loved no matter where they were at in their life.
Somebody described the Vineyard in the early days as the bagel church. Yeah. How important was feeding folks when we first started?
I think it's always important. Just like when we go to take care of the homeless, Jesus did it. When he took care of people, he met their needs, physically. He gave them food, and then he gave them the spiritual food. And I think that was the beauty. So whether people came for bagels or they came for potluck, the important thing was that they came and that they felt welcomed and that they were able to find the Savior and that they felt loved in the church environment. And I think also the other part that was important for us was to bridge them into other churches, and I think we saw a lot of that. Right. There's many people that we were able to plant seeds, and then the Holy Spirit, in my mind, fertilized that and allowed them to go into other churches and other communities and build from that standpoint. And I think that's also the beauty of the Vineyard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. That was really important. It was like a stepping stone, a bridge to regular churches where people got back involved with over the years. Now, guys, when we started this, we met prior to actually starting in September of 2000. We met for almost 10 months, once a week. We dialogued, we talked, we prayed, and we allowed the Spirit to lead. We were just a group of volunteers, and even to this day, we're still volunteers. How do you think that has benefited the Vineyard, Max, as opposed to having an actual paid pastor to run the Vineyard?
I mean, to me, it means more to be able to be part of something where you can see the results, not in a monetary form, but in a real life. You see the rewards of people being brought to Jesus right in front of you, where, I've never been a paid pastor or anything, but you can see that happening on a weekly basis here at the Vineyard. And I'm sorry if I can't answer the question, but I'm sorry, Richard, I'm lost with it.
You did I think that was really good. Yeah. I'll add to that. Yeah. I think being a volunteer also enables us not to have so many restrictions on how much time we can give and how much we can. So we know we're really giving from the heart. I think that when people talk about the environment of the Vineyard, I think that's what they're feeling. It's not that we have to have so many lives baptized by a certain date or so much money coming in. I think just it's the fact that we're just giving what we have and what's in our heart. And for me personally, we were able to come and participate in the very beginning, and then we had a little bit of a hiatus where we wanted to take our family and do something with our children as they got older in ministry, and then we were able to come back, and you never really felt like it was a job. It was always something that you did from your heart. And so I think that was the beauty of it as well, and I actually think that because we allowed God to lead, that's why it's lasted so long.
All right, guys. Last question. Once I said this before, we have been doing ministry for years together. Jamil and I started together when we were at Forest City doing a early teen class. Maxie joined in later on, and we were like directors. Then we move on to this vineyard. It's helped a lot of people spiritually, but overall, how has it helped you in your relationship, your marriage with your kids? How has Vineyard benefited you guys?
For me personally, and I think for Yamil, the fact that our kids were born into the Vineyard, and to see them now today being part of the praise team, my daughter playing guitar and Maxie singing, to me that's one of the biggest blessings of being part of a ministry like this, where you can see the fruits in real time.
I absolutely agree. For me, that's a tremendous blessing to sit back as a mother and see your children involved in church. But the other piece for our family has been the support we received for, well, I've been sick. And the fact that, you know, you get cancer once and you don't know what to expect, but the church is there for you. And going through everything that I've been through, to have that love and the support, and even when I can't come to church, that people would send text messages or emails, but it's just not that. It's the true love that I felt as I came to church. When the Bible says when you're broken at your deepest point in your life, that you can come as you are, literally with no hair, no fingernails, no nothing but my spirit, and to be filled that way, and then to get cancer again and still be loved and accepted. And there were many days I wasn't sure if I'd even make it through, but I always knew that I had that spiritual support, and it has meant the world to my family and I, and it's my absolute honor to be a part of such an amazing church family.
You know, we kind of fell into that testimony time. I remember somebody just got up and said, I need to share something. And ever since then, we decided, hey, this is an important part of our worship service, to allow people to share their feelings, to have a prayer request or give a little testimony. I believe that's really helped out a lot of people grow and to stay open about things. You know, it creates more of a bond, and I'm grateful that we kind of fell into it. It wasn't nothing planned. And I think that's part of what you're referring to, is that making people aware of the situation, what was going on, so they could pray. And Vineyard has always had that, I guess one of their main topics of believing in prayer and bringing family together through prayer. None of us are perfect, but God listens to those prayers and he answers them according to his will. And we've seen a lot of great things happen, but I'm grateful that both of you guys have always been part of it, even from the beginning. And we'll see where it takes us, you know, from this day forward. But thank you both for sharing this. It means a lot.